Hi and welcome back to my channel. In this week's video I'll be looking at peat-free and reduced peat compost. We'll take a trip out to a couple of large garden centres and see what compost they're selling and how easy is it to identify the peat content of each brand. You may be wondering why it's so important to buy peat-free anyway. Well, protecting our peatlands is one of the most important ways of stopping climate change. The National Trust say that the peatlands around the world hold twice as much carbon than that of the world's forests. But when peat is extracted, the stored carbon is released into the atmosphere. Protecting our peatlands is also important as they are a huge habitat for all sorts of wildlife, and they can even reduce flooding by controlling the water levels. If I have a compost heap which produces a good amount of soil, I still need to go and buy a couple of bags or so each year. Not much, I hear you say, but multiply that number by all of the gardeners who are also buying only a couple of bags each year, and that's a massive amount. In fact, we gardeners equate to over half of the peat bought in the UK. So let's take action today and buy peat-free compost. Okay, let's hop in the car and go and take a look at these composts. So here's the first bag. It's by Happy Compost. It's a multi-purpose compost. This is the one that I bought and I'll be reviewing at home towards the end of this video. But this is great, easy to see, 100% peat-free on the front. And they also do this vegetable compost, again 100% peat-free. And their bags are also made of 30% recycled material. Happy Compost also have a rose tree and shrub compost, and they've got a soil improver and also a topsoil within their range as well, all 100% peat free, so that's brilliant. This is Westland New Horizon, it's called, and that is 100% peat free. It's actually the only one I could find by Westlands that was 100% peat free. But I like this layout. It's really easy to see on the back of the pack. And if we zoom in here, you can see 0% peat content, naturally peat free. I actually bought a bag of this to review at home. Next up is Silver Grow Tub and Basket, and that, as you can see, is also peat-free, highly water retentive, so great for your hanging baskets or pots and tubs, especially during those warmer summer months. The back of the pack, a little bit wordy, but not a problem because we already know that it's 100% peat-free, so that's all good. Next up is Westland Planting Soil for Vegetables. It's the Active BioLife bag. It's not peat free, but it does only have 25% peat content in it. Next up we have Westland Alpine Potting Compost. This isn't peat free. This contains 40% peat. Again, another Westland. This one is Big Tom Tomato Planter. Nothing on the back here to indicate the actual peat content, so don't know what the percentage would be of that, so best to avoid. Moving on to the Namona brand, it didn't give any clue as to how much peat was in the compost, and the paragraph on the back was vague to say the least. They do state that all of their Namona compost contains a mixture of peat and at least 25% alternative sustainable ingredients. Some Namona compost, like the ericaceous one, just stated that it contained a mixture of peat and alternative sustainable ingredients, but again without a percentage, so I avoided this brand completely. This is the J. Arthur Bowers John Innes number 3. It does contain peat, but it doesn't state how much. I found the back of the pack a bit unclear, but I did read this paragraph about their use of peat. So again, I'm avoiding that one. Westland have got so many different varieties of compost out there. This is their tree and shrub compost, and it contains 50% peat. Next up we've got Westland's Jack's Magic Traditional Blend All-Purpose Compost, and when we have a look at the back, this has got a whopping 90% peat content in it, so definitely avoid that one. Westland Ericaceous Planting and Potting Mix, that has a total of 65% peat content in it. And their multi-purpose compost with added John Innes has nearly 50% peat content. Next up we've got Growshaw Seed and Cutting Compost, and that had a massive 80% peat content in the bag. The Westland John Innes number 1, number 2 and number 3 all had almost 50% peat in their bags. And their Rose Potting Mix also has 50% peat content. And finally we have Miracle Grow Performance Organics for Fruit and Veg. That, I found the diagram on the back of this pack a little confusing. It shows their peat reduction aim to be 0%. However, it indicates that within the bag it contains 50 to 75% of peat. So I'll also be avoiding this brand. Okay, let's get back home and take a look inside the 2 bags of compost that I bought. Okay, so here are the 2 composts that I bought from the 2 garden centres that we visited. So let's have a look inside at the soil structure to see which one may be best. So the first one I'm going to go for is this Happy Compost. It's an all-purpose compost, 100% peat-free. Looks nice. So this is the structure of it, the texture. It's very nice, I have to say. There's a few lumps in it, so I guess if you're seed sowing, you'll want to perhaps remove some of those larger chunks, but it's nice. Okay, let's have a look at this one next, which is Westland 100% peat free, and this one is called New Horizon All Plant Compost. Oh, this one looks very different. Okay, so this one, it's got bits of stone and gravel in it. It seems to be a lot more fibrous as well than the Happy compost, but it's pretty good. I'll be testing both of these out when I sow my seeds anyway, so we can do a proper comparison then. But just visually, they both look great. So here they are side by side. This is the New Horizon one by Westland. As you can see, that's the more stony one. And then this one is the Happy Compost, all-purpose compost. They both look great. Let's see how. So also, the reason why I've bought all-purpose compost instead of a specific seed sowing compost is because I find that the all-purpose composts are fine. They have what they need. I add in a bit of my own garden compost, and also I add in a bit of the perlite, which just gives it a bit more drainage. Yeah, that's the sort of combination that I've been using recently. So don't worry about looking specifically for seed sowing compost or anything like that. There's plenty of varieties out there, as we've seen, which are peat free, which you can use for lots and lots of different purposes in the garden. So here are my top 3 recommended peat-free composts. And if you enjoyed this video, then please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. But for now, let's take some time together to enjoy a sunrise, a new beginning, and of course we don't need to wait for a new day to experience a new beginning or a new start. We can choose to reset at any moment. So let's do that together now. Take a deep breath in through the nose and release out through the mouth. I'll watch the timer for you and you'll hear a bell at the end.